Hi guys, welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us as always is John Campia.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on planet Earth, coming to you from right here at the Collider Video Studios here in Burbank, California, and we are so glad you decided to make us part of your day.
Also here, Christian Harloff.
I'm glad I got the black shirt day memo.
Also here, Mark Wahlberg.
My black shirt has some color to it. Look, guys, it's like RoboCop, but it's also like Kiss because they're both from Detroit.
Clever.
I don't get it.
Are we going to talk about Kung Fu Panda?
Yes, folks, you know, as happens sometimes before we get rolling, a piece of news drops after we already do our show notes, and we have all these lovely topics that you see here. A brand new trailer, the first real full trailer for the upcoming Kung Fu Panda 3 dropped this morning, which caught me completely by surprise. I had heard nothing about a new trailer dropping anytime soon, but I guess it's kind of within the window we should be expecting. Anyway, Mark, you had a chance to watch it this morning. Your thoughts on the Kung Fu Panda 3 trailer?
Well, Christian and I had the same question when we heard there was a Kung Fu Panda 3 trailer. Is Van Damme going to be in this one? We didn't get him from the trailer, but I did like it. There were some funny moments. I like the storyline that the trailer is telling us the movie is about, is that you're going back to wherever the pandas come from, and so he has to train other pandas. He's this dopey panda, and now he has to be a leader. He's not just good at Kung Fu anymore. That's not going to cut it in the third movie. He's got to pass on what he's learned. So yeah, the trailer, it made me giggle a couple times. Didn't laugh as much as I was expecting to, but it's a trailer. Don't give away all the jokes in the trailer. I dug it.
Yeah, Kung Fu Panda for me is one of these. I expected nothing from the first one, and I really enjoyed the first one. Then I certainly expected nothing out of the second one, and I think I like the second one even more than the first one. To me, best animated fighting I had ever, like the choreography, the way they designed the combat in number 2, I thought was just beautiful on a big screen in a theater. Sit back and watch. I enjoyed it immensely. So I've been looking forward to Kung Fu Panda 3. And I'm going to say this. Did not love the trailer. But I didn't love the trailer for either 1 or 2 either. So I don't know if this is just a matter of I'm not a big fan of the DreamWorks marketing team, even though they get handed some good product, whatever. I love the notion, though, because they tease that Panda Village at the end of Kung Fu Panda 2. And I've been looking forward to the Miss of Pandora ever since. So, I mean, we'll see how it turns out. I'm not a big fan of the trailer. There was that last one, even Master Chicken is going into the fight.
Master Chicken running into the boat was really funny, and also the villain, who I believe is played by J.K. Simmons. It seems like that's going to be a really funny villain too. He's going to have a lot of funny lines in there.
Now, Bryan Cranston's the voice, right?
Bryan Cranston's the voice of the father.
I couldn't tell if Cranston and J.K. was the voice of the father or the
Cranston
villain.
was the dad, yeah.
Cranston was the dad. Okay, you had a chance to watch the trailer. What do you think?
I thought the trailer was okay. I mean, I thought it's in sync with what the other trailers were, and the movie itself. What I'm shocked, and I think I said this last trailer, I'm still shocked because number 1 came out in the summer, number 2 came out in the summer, both did really well, and this one comes out in January, which is the toilet bowl of movie seasons.
It means Kung Fu Panda 3 is going to crush in January.
It will crush in January, but it also makes me think, like, because that also means that the studio is not putting a heavy marketing push into it. That's usually what January movies mean. That's because they know that they're going to spend a lot of money in marketing other movies that come out. So the January movies, that's where they hit. We get the trailer now, maybe building off of the momentum of other big movies that are coming out now. But the trailer itself was fine, and I thought that some of the jokes hit and some of them missed, but the one thing it seems like every one of these movies, and it just happened recently in Rio, is once you get to the second or third and they don't know where to go, it's like, let's take him to his home and to his missing village. It's like, it always seems to happen in these animation movies, but I like the voice talent, and I'm interested in it because I did like 1 and 2.
I'm so much more interested in this than I'm in Rio. Like, I can't stand watching those Rio movies for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And look,
You just don't like
coming out in
birds.
January. I think DreamWorks is gonna. I hate birds. DreamWorks is gonna come out with a big marketing push for this, though. You know, just because January is the beginning of a new fiscal year, I don't think is the reason why they're not going to be marketing as much. I think you're going to see a crap load of stuff for Kung Fu Panda.
What I'm
3.
saying is, when you put a movie in January, you're not going to get the amount of marketing that it would if it was a summer film.
Generally, yeah, but I think DreamWorks they might be banking on this because there's nothing that wants to come out anywhere near the wake of Star Wars, so that's why you release this movie in January. I think it could be a smart move.
You're the marketing guy, though. What do you think? You think they're going to spend money on it?
I've been saying for some time that I believe, while traditionally January, early February is kind of the dumping ground, maybe a little bit of the latter end of October as well, I've believed for a long time now that there is an opportunity for a studio that has a film they really believe in to drop it in that graveyard and make ass loads of money.
Yeah.
Now, if we see Kung Fu Panda 3 in January and it's not up to snuff and it's not very good, then we'll know, okay, they just dumped it here. Right. But I'm going into it believing that they want to take advantage of that theory. I think you're going to have very weak competition opening up against you. You're hopefully for them, hopefully the big Star Wars hangover will start to be, a lot of people have already seen Star Wars 4 or 5 times. Now they're looking for something else to watch. This could be a really smart move. This could make a load of money. And if it does, we might see other studios start to take advantage of things. And look, I love our summer blockbusters and I love our end of the year clout of all those great movies. But getting those clout of great movies always means every year we have those months where we got to suffer through
horror movies,
garbage.
All bad horror movies.
Yeah, bad horror movies and garbage. It would be nice to see some studios and say, hey, wait a minute, if we put something good in that month, there's an opportunity. Maybe we'll get that spread out a little bit more because the last 2 weeks have been horrible. The last 2 weeks has been so bad. But
I think Kung Fu Panda 3 could be the American Sniper of 2016. Let's find out.
All right, what's our first official story of the day?
According to a report in The Wrap, Academy Award-winning actress Nicole Kidman is currently in talks to appear in the upcoming Warner Brothers DC film Wonder Woman, scheduled for release in 2017. There are no confirmations on what role Kidman would play in the film, but there is speculation that she could possibly play Amazon Queen Hippolyta. John, what would you think of Nicole Kidman joining Wonder Woman, and who do you think she could be playing?
Never a mistake to add talent. Right. And there's not much bigger talent than you're going to get than Nicole. I mean, there are some better, but not many. She would be an excellent addition to this. Now, my only fear in this is this, and I talk about this during the Flash TV show, and I talked about this. Remember that movie that Channing Tatum was in, Fighting or Fighter? Fighting, and he was in that with the dude from Empire, the lead
Terrence
guy.
Howard.
He was in it with Terrence Howard. The problem was, like, you had at the time, Channing Tatum was a horrible actor at the time, and I've come to really actually appreciate him today. But that's years later. You'd think by putting in an actor the caliber of Terrence Howard, and Terrence Howard killed it in that movie. I thought he gave a dynamite performance. But the problem is that didn't elevate the movie. It just made Channing Tatum's weaknesses stand out all the more. I'm a little worried that having a Nicole Kidman, an Academy Award-winning actress like Nicole Kidman in there, acting against some untested, unproven, untrained talent, it might cause that loop. On the other hand, it might do the opposite. It might actually cause everything to elevate. Put Wayne Gretzky in a hockey team, the whole team gets better. You put LeBron James on a basketball team, suddenly they're all going to the finals. So maybe putting her in will actually elevate everything. It's a little bit of roll of the dice, but I like it overall, so I think this is a good move. What do you think, Mark?
I kind of like LeBron James as Queen Hippolyta now. That's what I want to see. I was looking at pictures of Queen Hippolyta, and like the way that she's first appearing in the comic books as the mother of Wonder Woman is she has black hair. And I'm like, oh, that would have been so much better as Julia Roberts. But then she gets a hair color change later in the comics, and it looks a lot more like Nicole Kidman. And this is what DC has done. It's what they did with Man of Steel. They had Russell Crowe and Kevin Costner come in as the father figures of Superman. And so when you have great talent becoming the mentor for these superheroes that have to learn how to utilize their powers in the right way, you need to cast a great veteran actor or actress like Nicole Kidman. I think this is a brilliant move.
Yeah, I'd love to see her in it. And the thing, going back to your example with Fighting, whatever that movie was called.
I think it was actually Fighting.
I think it was called Fighting. But you also remember, who was the director of that piece? We don't know, and he's probably doesn't work anymore. And who wrote that? We don't know. Probably not working anymore. So I think that you're going to get more talent, not just in the acting side, in the directing side. Because do we have someone locked down yet? I know there's been a lot of rumors for Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I don't know if she's locked down yet.
Let's talk about calling your movie Fighting. Never name your movie a gerund. It just doesn't end up working well in an ing form.
But I think that DC knows that, especially Wonder Woman, that this movie has to deliver. So they want to make sure.
Yeah, Patty Jenkins was locked down for it.
Okay, so you want to make sure that you have the right talent, and it's going to be much more than just relying on, say, like a Channing Tatum and Terrence Howard. Like, that's where we got two people who can, one guy that maybe can act and another guy who definitely can act. Good luck. There's much more to this, and I think we'll find out more about Gal Gadot in Batman v Superman for sure, and whether maybe your opinion could change on that one too.
Oh no! I'm her biggest cheerleader now.
I know.
I'm her biggest cheerleader now. I can't think negative.
Yeah.
I am now her biggest cheerleader.
So I mean, and yeah, Nicole Kidman in that role, and even the graphic that Ray just did there, I buy it for sure. You know, we're not doing that yet, but I think that to me, it's absolutely crucial to add talent, and they're doing it with Nicole Kidman.
The one thing I will add to the story is, and for whatever reason, whenever I read the name, I always think of 40-year-old virgin Pussalaya. So, the one thing is, I do not think Nicole Kidman is going to be playing Pussalaya. I think. Because she's talked lately a lot about wanting to play some villainous roles.
And she just did it recently in Paddington and was great.
And she loved it.
Yeah.
She loved playing the bad girl. She loved playing the villain. And honestly, I think a villain role will have a bigger role in this film than the Hippolyta role will. And so I tell you myself, like I've read a couple of people have been putting up some theories about a villain she could play. I don't know about those theories. But listening to Nicole Kidman lately, thinking that the villain role will be the bigger role than this other one they're talking about, I tend to think she's going to be the villain of Wonder Woman. If she is, that's going to make me even more excited.
But you could do either one with her because she's got that class and that elegance to play. You know, if it is Diana's mom, then absolutely she could do that. But she does play not only in that villainous role in Paddington, but even look at that movie. What was the old school with Joaquin Phoenix? Not Never Die Young.
Die For.
Thank you. To Die For. And like how she could play cold and calculating and just she shuts down. Like so that type of role I'd like to see as well too because she was a lot of fun.
The Vegas odds are saying she's playing Wonder Woman's mama, though.
I won't die of shock if she does.
Yeah, I won't die of shock.
But you know what? Here's the thing about Nicole Kidman. She's never been in a lot of what you would call fan favorite movies. And that's cool.
Batman Forever?
I'd say if you want to go all the way back to Batman Forever, there's a popular movie she was in. But she's never done a lot of what you would call fan favorite movies. Not that she hasn't been in great movies. She has been in great movies, but not the really hyper popular ones. And because of that, I think a lot of people underestimate the name Nicole Kidman and how good she is. She's one of these actors who will do a big Hollywood studio film, but she'll go and do these like little indie projects. Rabbit Hole was an excellent example. Yeah. Like, I'm actually a little bit surprised she didn't win an Academy Award for that. She was incredible in Rabbit Hole. But she does these little indie projects simply because she loves the challenge of acting. And to bring something like that into a Wonder Woman, I mean, that's great news for one. If you're looking forward to Wonder Woman, you got to be happy today. All right, what's next?
Although there have been rumors and speculation about a $6 billion man project for years and even recently, it has now been confirmed. The Weinstein Company has officially announced that the $6 billion man will go into production in September for a December 2017 release, and the film will indeed star Mark Wahlberg, as was previously rumored. The $6 billion man is based on the classic television series The $6 Million Man and the novel Cyborg by Martin Caidin. The story follows military officer Steve Austin, who becomes part of a top-secret government program after a horrific accident leaves him near death. With the help of cutting-edge technology, Steve is brought back to life with extraordinary abilities, making him the world's first truly bionic man. Christian, are you excited for a $6 billion man film?
Yes, but they have to make a reference to Stone Cold Steve Austin inside of that movie.
I almost said it through the whole story. I kept almost saying it.
And they should also make sure that Van Damme pops up to make a Cyborg reference as well. But I actually, I am curious about this one because I've also liked what the Weinsteins have done recently. We saw Trumbo, and then there was Southpaw. I know you're not a huge fan of Southpaw. I really enjoyed Southpaw. I like what they've been making lately, and I know at one point, the $6 Billion Man was supposed to be with Jim Carrey as a comedy, and I'm so glad that that's not happening because I do think that this movie lends itself to a fun summer action film, and I think that Mark Wahlberg could be good in this type of role. And I enjoy watching Wahlberg in these big kind of popcorn movies minus Transformers. And I think that this could be a movie, if it's explainable, it could be a fun kind of science fiction movie. So yeah, I'm definitely curious.
Don't throw out the notion that they could go goofy comedy with this. That's still possible. Being TWD,
Weinstein,
it's likely
I don't know.
that it's not. I kind of hope they go in the direction. Speaking of Jake Gyllenhaal, what the movie he was in with the train and the recog?
Source Code.
Source Code. Thank you. Source Code, something totally different.
Yeah, something different.
I hope they kind of go in a direction of Source Code. You know, like they play it heavy with moments of levity, but great action, great fun. You go pretty hard on this, like a soldier soldier brutally wounded, the most advanced technology put into him, and he comes in. Essentially, it's a superhero movie, really. It's a cyborg movie before Cyborg comes out for DC. Mark Wahlberg is a guy I continue to grow respect for over the years. I mean, he just does pretty good thing after pretty good thing after pretty good thing. But I'm going to reserve judgment on this until I hear for sure what direction they're going with this. No. Because, like you said, the original concept of a $6 billion man movie, which was about 8 years ago, was Jim Carrey. And they were going to go full-blown spoofy comedy. If they're still holding on to that, and that is this is the reincarnation of that project, I'm not going to be as thrilled. But if, like you, if they go more serious, fun action film,
Minority Report style.
If they do that, then I think this could be really cool.
It's just sad that we live in a world where a $6 million man isn't anything anymore. You know, it's like $6 million man's what he's got like one robotic finger. Like we got to pay billions of dollars to get this guy built, and it actually is coming out in December, right? So it's going to be like a Christmas kind of movie instead. Which I don't mind. I'm not really a seasonist, so whether it comes out in summer or December, it's going to be a fun movie, and I like having an action movie around Christmas time. The reason why I'm excited about this, 'cause I don't really care about the lore that much. Hearing about the project on its ear, I don't care that much. But it sounds like a superhero movie without having to tie into other superhero movies. Because Marvel and DC, God love you to death. You know I do. Sometimes you get a little sick of, this is going to tie into this movie, and this is going to factor into this movie. This is going to be a superhero movie that's a standalone superhero movie. I'm sure if it does well, there will be sequels to it, but you just get to watch this and leave. You don't have to think about staying after the credits, or how is this guy, or what's this lore, or who's this villain. You just get to see a fun superhero movie as a one-off.
Yeah, it's kind of a version of RoboCop too, if you look at it as well. And from what they're able to do with, you brought up a good point, was how back in the 70s, $6 million was enough, and now $6 billion because of the technology they're going to use on him. And I'm curious sometimes when they, and I brought up Minority Report before, when you look at a movie like Minority Report and you go back and you watch that film of how much they got right today and future and stuff that they can do. I like to see them put kind of technology, even what they've been able to do with prosthetic limbs and all that type of technology, and they add it to this. You can do some really cool science fiction if it's not just, and the fact that it is coming in December, maybe they'll go more that route than just the big summer movie.
Oscar push, baby. $6 billion man. Don't you think it's ridiculous that it's not $6 billion? It's like $600 million, but that title isn't as catchy.
It's $6 billion.
We'll see what he can do.
That's how advanced it is.
The entire Star Wars franchise went for $4 billion. We're going to pay $6 billion to get Mark Wahlberg on a plane? Come on.
The $6 million man today is Uncle Maury with a hip replacement or something.
So he blows that in Vegas day one.
He blows that in Vegas on the craps table. All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show now for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Ashley's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's growing them down, and those at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it, and if we noticed her darker hair. So, Ashley, what's up?
You noticed. Well, as many of you know,
hair.
The highly anticipated Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hardy film, The Revenant, opens in theaters on Christmas Day, and now 2 new posters featuring the actors have been released, which you can see here. In an expedition of the uncharted American wilderness, legendary explorer Hugh Glass, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, is brutally attacked by a bear and left for dead by members of his own hunting team. In a quest to survive, Glass endures unimaginable grief as well as the betrayal of his confidant, John Fitzgerald, played by Tom Hardy. Guided by sheer will and the love of his family, Glass must navigate a vicious winter in a relentless pursuit to live and find redemption. Mark, buy or sell these new posters for The Revenant?
I definitely buy the Leo one. Tom Hardy, get off that poster. This is Leo's Oscar. Stop messing with it. These posters are great, and I love that tagline too, Blood Lost, Life Found. It just sounds cool, and this is exactly the kind of poster that I wanted to see for The Revenant. You're selling Leo, but you're also selling the way that he looks so different than we're used to seeing him. Same with Tom Hardy. These posters, I couldn't be more excited for the movie already, so I'm not going to say they up my level of excitement for this movie, but it is at such a fever pitch right now. I cannot wait to see The Revenant.
I'm a little torn on the posters, and here's why. Had I not seen the trailer or known anything else, just presenting me with these posters, I might just go, okay, another floating head poster, 2 more floating head posters. However, I'm going to buy this because I did see the trailers. And knowing what this movie's about, these posters, oh my God. I mean, I would give Tom Hardy an Academy Award just for the look on his face.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that face. When you see the trailer, you understand what's going on, and then you see that look on his face. It's like, oh my God, I already feel like I'm watching the movie just by looking at the poster. Same thing with Leo's poster. I mean, so having seen the posters, knowing what the story's about, then looking at these posters, I just get very excited about. So for me, they're buys.
Yeah, it's a big buy for me too. And you make a great point as far as the trailer and seeing the trailer and then absolutely buying it just because you've seen the trailer, because it everything you've seen in that trailer, that's the story they're telling on these posters.
Captures in those 2 frames.
The intensity, everything. And just like the trailer, it's as beautiful. Look at the way that the tree is kind of overlying on their head.
Yeah.
It's artwork, like Inarritu's movies are artwork. That's what these posters are. But I will say that I think even if people who haven't seen the trailers would still be able to, because this is a marketing play as far as on your star power. When you stop,
True.
if you're walking, if it was just someone who less known than Leo, as you're walking through the hallway in a movie theater going to see a movie, and you see that poster, you're going to stop. Because you see Leonardo DiCaprio and he's just staring at you and like, well, what's that? And then I never heard of the Revenant. And then you see that tagline, which is a great tagline.
Oh, yeah.
And then I think that's going to make you go either watch a trailer or be curious about the movie. And Tom Hardy, even if you're not as familiar with him, that stare alone, he's telling you better watch my trailer. And I think that those 2 posters, I think this is a brilliant poster.
Yeah, I mean, even like that blue shade, that blue Instagram filter they have over it, it catches your eye a little bit more. And Leo is that rare star that can just be on a poster and you want to go see the movie because it's Leo with this beard in the snow. Somebody like Bradley Cooper, when you put him on the burnt poster and it's like, oh, he's a chef, I can't wait to Redbox that movie. You just don't care about it. Like, you care about Leo committing to a movie. I don't know what the word Revenant means. If I hadn't seen the trailer, I'd still be engaged in this movie because the poster's that good.
How many movies have you red boxed in your life? Be honest.
I don't know. Here's the thing. I don't have like an operational DVD player at the moment. Or Christian lent me his PlayStation 3, but I don't have the HDMI cable. So there's too many cables.
All right, what's next?
Although principal photography was completed some time ago, reports are emerging that XMen Apocalypse is heading back to Montreal for a few weeks of reshoots. Most interesting in the report is the claim that Hugh Jackman is going to be involved in those shoots. Up to this point, there has been no official confirmation from either 20th Century Fox nor Jackman himself that he will be involved in the film. John Byers said that Hugh Jackman will actually be involved in these X-Men reshoots.
I completely buy it, and it's true that nobody's confirmed it and nobody's talking about it, but there is no way that Hugh Jackman, having announced that he is ending his run as Wolverine come the next Wolverine standalone film, there's just no way I would believe that he's not going to have a presence. Story-wise, it wouldn't make sense since he's such a central figure, even in that era now of the X-Men universe. And star power-wise, there's no way you don't put him in. And I even have a feeling once we start to get close, and we're still eons away from this movie coming out, but once we get close, they're also going to leverage him in the marketing. This isn't going to be like the quick 30-second cameo in First Class, which was a terrific cameo, by the way. He's going to have a part. I don't think he's going to be the key player. I don't think he's going to be one of the 3 key players, but I do think he's going to have a significant part. They're going to leverage that. I don't see how they get away from it, so I totally buy that he's going to be part of these reshoots, and it's probably to give him even more screen time than what they did in the original bit of shooting. I don't know, Christian, what do you think?
Yeah, I buy it 100%. And I can't remember, it was about a year ago, and I think Dennis may have been hosting. We got a report that, I can't remember who did it, but like somebody kind of spilled that he was going to be in the movie, and I was like, I don't know if it was like an international clothing line or something.
Somebody put on an Instagram account that they had like a Wolverine jacket.
It was like women's.
It was a backpack.
It was something like a back, and they spoiled that he was going to be in it. So we know he's going to be in the movie anyway. But yeah, it makes sense that he'd be doing these reshoots, and like you said, John, this is his final campaign as the character. Yeah. We've known him as Wolverine since 2000, and this is one of the biggest.
Isn't that sick?
It's crazy.
Since 2000.
Since 2000, and this is the biggest bad guy they've had to face thus far. This is the guy. To not have Wolverine in some of it, and I agree, I don't think he should be the main character. We had that in Days of Future Past, and it was great. But he's going to be in this. He'll have a couple scenes. I'll have some cool kick-ass scenes, and then we'll get a standalone, and then we can all say goodbye.
Yeah, that bad guy you mentioned, I wonder if he's the reason why they're doing some of these reshoots, too, is because fans didn't exactly love the way that bad guy looked in the Entertainment Weekly article or that first trailer, so maybe that's the reason for some of the reshoots.
It's a lot of reshoots, though.
I still don't even know how much of a factor Wolverine is going to be, because there's 2 ways you can look at him being on set for these reshoots. Is he's such a central figure to this story that they had to include him in the reshoots, or that maybe his schedule didn't work out to where he could be part of X-Men Apocalypse and didn't have him in that much of the story, and now this is his time to shoot, so they're just shoehorning me into a couple scenes. I just wonder how much Wolverine is going to be a factor in this movie. I still don't know.
All right, what's next?
A few weeks ago, the official poster for the upcoming Star Wars The Force Awakens hit the web. Now a new international poster for the film has surfaced in several markets, which looks very similar to the North American version of the poster with a few key differences. Christian, do you buy or sell this international poster for Star Wars The Force Awakens?
Well, I bought the last one, and there's a lot going on in that one. I will buy this one, even though there's less going on in this one. And I could see can't be going either way here, but I'm very curious. I almost want to stop talking right now to hear what you're going to say about it. But I think that it does the same thing. It does what I said on Jedi Council, and I'll say it again, is this poster does the same thing. When you focus your eyes on any portion of this poster, it tells a story. If you're looking at what the weapon in the back, we're going to get a big portion of what that weapon is all about, the planet, the building of it. Boyega just kind of on his own. Our old characters, we have them right there, and then the parallel between Rey and Kylo Ren. I think that this is a great poster, and I like the last one, so bye.
I'm going to buy it for no other reason. I think it's about 5 times better than the other one. There are literally 8 less characters on this thing. The imagetic noise that kind of populated the first poster kind of turned me off. I didn't hate the first poster. A lot of people think just because I said I didn't really care for it, that meant I hate it. I didn't hate it. I think there are much worse posters you could have done, but I just thought there was too much visual noise on there. There's just far too much they try to cram in one poster. This has 8 less characters on the poster, and I think it makes the key things stand out better, stand out more. Your focus of your attention goes to the things where your attention is supposed to go. So personally, I don't think it's the greatest poster in the world. I much prefer this one over the other ones we had, so I hope the kind of North America adopts it too. What do you think?
Imagetic Noise is my favorite Duran Duran album. I totally buy this poster. It's great. You can I don't know why they're like, oh, you know what, for Germany, we're going to have to put less characters in there. I don't know what market research is like. Well, Germans like less characters in their posters, so let's take some people out. But I love the poster we had before. I love this one because it's Star Wars. The more characters, the better, but that's plenty for me too. So I like that they kept Han and Leia and Boyega and Kylo Ren and Daisy Ridley, and you still get some of those spaceships down there in the corner. So Star Wars, Dasser Wacken der Macht. Can't wait to see you.
All right, folks. Well, listen, it is Tuesday, which means it's time for us to talk about what is opening this week. Brought to you by our friends at AMC Theaters. 2 major films opening this week. We're going to talk about one of them right now. So, Ashley, what are we talking about?
The first major film opening this week is the new James Bond film Spectre. A cryptic message from the past leads James Bond to Mexico City and Rome, where he meets the beautiful widow of an infamous criminal. After infiltrating a secret meeting, 007 uncovers the existence of the sinister organization Spectre. Needing the help of the daughter of an old nemesis, he embarks on a mission to find her. As Bond ventures toward the heart of Spectre, he discovers a chilling connection between himself and the enemy he seeks. Mark, should people be looking forward to Spectre?
You're damn right you should be looking forward to Spectre. Jimmy Bond is coming off of Skyfall, which was a critical and fan success. It made a buttload of money, and this one will too, and you should be one of the reasons why, because Daniel Craig is James Bond. We don't know if this is actually his last Bond, or maybe he's doing one more. We don't know exactly what that deal is, but him as James Bond is such a fun, different take on the character, but you still get those classic Bondisms. Christian and I had the pleasure of seeing the movie last night. I don't want to reveal too much about my exact thoughts of it because I didn't love the movie as much as I love Skyfall, but it should definitely be a movie that you put on your calendar to go see in a theater.
Christian?
Of course you should be looking forward to it, and especially if you liked Skyfall and you're liking what Daniel Craig has done as James Bond. It's continuing the story. And I think that Daniel Craig has been a great James Bond, has exceeded expectations from when he was first announced. People were very upset with him as Bond, and now he's up in the conversation as one of the best Bonds of all time. So this is and you have Christoph Waltz, you have all these characters that are returning, and it's when we get into the big blockbusters of the fall season, we get some the ones that you just have to go see in the theater. And James Bond has been a November staple. You should absolutely see it.
I am very much looking forward to seeing this film. I was supposed to see it last night, but Anna's out of town, and my 4 other people that I usually go to be my plus ones couldn't go, and I didn't want to go by myself. So I ended up just staying at the office and working until 11:30 at night. Whatever, how boring. But I am dying to see this movie. I can't wait to get out there and see it, and I think a lot of people are going to follow suit. All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show now for Mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can just email us anytime at collidervideo@gmail.com. Now, for those of you who are watching us live, and we do this show live now every day, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. East Coast Time. If you're one of the people watching us live, you can tweet in some questions right now, and we're going to save the last part of the show to take your live Twitter questions. So you can tweet those questions into @collidervideo, and make sure you're following us on Twitter as well. But for now, let's get to the mailbag questions. So Ashley, what's in the mailbag?
Donald Long writes, greetings and salutations, Collider crew. Love the show and watch everything you put up. My question is, what is the process of movie studios distributing their movies to the movie theaters and the theaters showing the movie, and what happens to the physical copy of the movie after it's done with its run? Thanks, and keep bringing the filthy.
Well, kind of, I mean, there used to be the days in the olden times that they would take copies of these movies, these reels, pack them up really well, and put them in these salt mine caves where the air was actually make sure, because film, there's degradation of the film, and they put them in these storage areas, if you will, that try to maintain them as well and as long as they could. Those days are pretty much gone now. 90% of theaters now are digital. So there aren't physical copies of these movies anymore. There are only hard drives that get delivered to theaters and whatnot. So that's kind of what do you guys know about the whole process?
Yeah, I mean,
don't worry about what happens to them. We have top men working on it.
Yeah.
Top men. All right, what's next?
Ryan West writes, you guys keep mentioning the fact that Warcraft could be the game changer when it comes down to video game movies, not being the worst thing ever. However, you failed to mention the upcoming animated film adaptation of Ratchet and Clank coming to theaters in April, just a few short months before Warcraft. Don't you think that this movie could break the mold of terrible video game movies before Warcraft?
Yeah, the Ratchet and Clank trailer came out, and I remember we missed it because we missed it by a few hours, and then the following day there were just too many important movie stories. We went over it. The Ratchet and Clank trailer, though, is a pile of shit. It's awful. It totally, completely sucks. And that's not a commentary on the video game at all. We're talking about Kung Fu Panda earlier. I love me some really good animated films. But instead of being in the vein of The Incredibles or an Inside Out or even a Kung Fu Panda, it looks more in the veins of like Rio or something like that. The humor was awful. This is what makes Pixar so great. They have movies that you can totally bring your kids to and they are going to love, but they're still intelligent movies. This one, they're gearing for 5-year-olds. And it looks like they're gearing for 5-year-olds. And even slightly intelligent 5-year-olds are going to reject this thing. This is a piece of crap trailer. So, no. I mean, look, and we've seen pieces of shit trailers in the past turn out great movies just because it's a bad trailer. But that's all we've got to go on right now. So, no. This horrific pile of steaming refuse known as the Ratchet and Clank trailer is not going to be the movie that breaks the trend of bad video game adaptations before Warcraft or Assassin's Creed.
I had never seen this trailer before, and I watched it today, and it actually reminded me of that movie Moms Are From Mars.
That about 8 people saw.
Yeah, and Home and all these. It felt like that, and it felt generic, and I was like, who cares? And I actually said to Mark, I was like, why is this coming out in April and Kung Fu Panda 3 coming out in January? I'm like, that should be the opposite. But as far as the question on the table is for the video game, even if this movie is incredible, I think that the reason we wouldn't include that is not taking anything away from animation. We're looking for the big wave of the genre for the video game movies as live action to work. That hasn't happened. Even if this movie is incredible, and then you have Warcraft stink, the video game movies are not going to be saved because people.
It would be a step in the right direction.
It would be a step in the right direction, but it's still there are some people who just don't watch animation. They just don't. Like even like my dad the other day, who watches everything in the movies. He's like, I don't watch the animation. I don't know what it is, and just he won't see it. But if there's a wave of video games, movies that are good, like a Warcraft and Assassin's Creed, that's what we're kind of hoping for. And again, I'm not taking anything away from animation, but I still think this movie's not going to be the one to do it regardless. It's just tougher to do, I think.
Well, it might be a bit of a leap to consider Warcraft live action. You know, I mean, we got to see how much live action actually takes place in Warcraft. But I totally understand what you're saying. Is
it's not Final Fantasy?
It's not Final Fantasy, and this movie just looks like a run-of-the-mill animated film, and it might be fine. It might be a good movie, but to break the spell that has been cast over video game game movie since the greatness that was 1995's Oscar-winning Mortal Kombat, it gets real tough, and it's not just going to be Ratchet and Clank being passable. It's got to be a Warcraft or an Assassin's Creed or an Uncharted that is great, that has people rushing out to the theater month after month, week after week to go see it.
Video game movies are the Chicago Cubs.
Was there
like
a
a
goat?
goat.
Was Goro eating a goat in the first Mortal Kombat?
It's
There's
really
some
what
sort of
it
weird curse.
That's what it seems to be.
All right, folks, listen, I said that at the end of the show, which we are at now, we would take some time to take your Twitter questions. So once again, make sure you're following us on Twitter, @ColliderVideo, and send in your questions right now. Do your best job of kissing up to Ashley because she is the one who chooses which questions get on. So Ashley, what have you selected today?
Well, I want to be friends with this guy because his name is Linus Eats BLTs, and he writes, any news on the Seth Rogen, James Franco comedy Sausage Party?
Oh, I keep hearing about movement on it. I know it landed a release date. I can't remember what the release date was. For those of you who haven't heard about it, it's an animated party.
Oh, okay.
An animated party. It's an animated film.
Oh, no, it is a party.
It's animated, and I believe it's what you would think. It's about a bunch of food items. And I believe sausages are some of the food items, and it's called Sausage Party. It's going to be an R-rated animated comedy. But I mean, no other big news. It's in progress. It's coming. I'll let you guys address it while I look up the release date.
It sounds funny, and it's like you want to make sure that from whatever you thought of the interview, like those guys, they have headlines. There's this new movie that comes out, the Christmas movie with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I don't think Franco's in that one, right? Though, and it's
no, he's not. It's Anthony Mackie's
but,
in it too.
But I like when these comedies that Rogen has been putting out, even something like when he goes a little more drama into 50-50, but then to spin it into animation now with James Franco, they work well together. So I'd be interested in seeing it.
Okay, listen to some of the other voice talent in this thing. Kristen Wiig, by the way, it's coming out in August, this coming summer. It's coming out in August.
Oh, good.
It's also got, I know these are all just voices, but still. Kristen Wiig, Selma Hayek, Paul Rudd, Edward Norton, Jonah Hill, of course, Bill Hader, of course, Michael Cera, of course, Danny McBride, of course, Craig Robinson, Nick Kroll, of course. It's their whole crew that's going to be there, and hopefully it's as funny as I'm thinking it's going to be.
August is the perfect landing place for a movie like Sausage
It may
Party.
not be a Ratchet and Clank. I mean, it might not be on that level.
There'll be some kind of crank.
But hopefully it'll be pretty good. All right, what's next?
Kylo Glenn Coco. Did you guys get that name?
Kylo Glenn, yeah,
Glenn
Star
Coco.
Wars.
Well, and then Glenn Coco, Mean Girls. You go, Glenn Coco. All right, guys.
Oh, that's
Question
nice
is, what do you think Episode 7 second weekend drop off will be?
Okay.
percentage-wise?
Here's the thing. I actually think Star Wars Episode 7 second week drop off will be around the 45 to 50% mark. Why? Because it's not good? No, because this is one of those movies where everybody is going to go out to see it week one. Yeah. And I think that more than anything is going to contribute. Like look, if Star Wars The Force Awakens has like a 30% drop, then I will change my tune and say it might threaten Avatar. It might threaten Avatar for the all-time box office. I don't see that happening though. I think it's going to get a 45%, 50% drop, and that's nothing to be worried about because that just means so many people want to go see it week one. So if it comes in lower, the prize, and very happily surprised at that. What do you think?
Oh, I think the Na'vi better look out because their planet's about to get stomped by Jakku, baby. I think opening weekend it can do around $250 million, and I think that because Christmas Day is the second weekend for Star Wars, I think look, it'd be crazy to say that a movie's going to make $200 million the first weekend and the second weekend. I don't think it's going to cross $200 million the second weekend. I think it'll do less than a 50% drop off, though. I think it'll be around 35-40%.
Here's a question: has a film ever, like that opened in wide release, not gone from limited release to wide release, has a film ever had a $100 million second weekend?
Yeah.
Jurassic
World did it too.
Did Jurassic World have 100 million second
I think
weekend?
Jurassic World might have been the first one to do that,
Ever?
and Mortal Kombat. I think that was the. I think Jurassic World might have been the first.
What about
I can't
Avengers? What
remember.
about
I think Avengers did. I think Avengers did just under. I think Avengers did like 85.
I think it's been done a few times. But even so, like it's. We've all changed our tune. Me too, because I was singing a tune.
I haven't. I was saying 250
in
from
the beginning.
day one, baby.
All right. Well, I definitely go on record saying that I changed my tune because the record previously in December was 86 million as well too. Let's go back to that and say that Star Wars just makes 150. Just makes 150.
Oh, if that happens, yeah, very small drop
Yes,
off.
then there's going to be a small drop off because people will continue to see it. If we think it's going to do this monster number that we all do now, at a 230, 250. A 50% drop off is pretty good.
Yeah, well, it would be like $125 million second weekend.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So and then it's the third week that's the drop off I'm curious about, because I don't think the third week's going to be that big of a drop off. And then as we get further and further, because I think this Star Wars is going to be in the top 3 until about February.
You guys realize The Force Awakens could make enough money to build a bionic Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah, in the first week.
It's funny, and I've also changed my tune because I've been harping on the fact. Look, guys, you keep forgetting it. The December record is only 86 million. Blah blah blah. Maybe it'll do 150, maybe it'll do 140, 130, and that should be considered good. I've totally changed my song on that now with the new information that we have, seeing what it did on those opening.
It was that opening day thing that got it for me.
That's what totally did it for me.
The energy and the like selling like event tickets that people were buying it like if you didn't see it that weekend, you're never going to see it ever.
Yeah,
it was crazy the way people were buying it.
I think too. I've. Why do I have to say this? I have come around to believe that Mark Ellis was right.
Yeah, Start drinking the midi-chlorians, everyone.
250 will be the number. All right, what's next?
Comrade X writes, most movies are now sneaking in political messages. What are your most and least favorite? Example, Harloff hated Elysium.
No Christians.
Yeah, well, also throw Tomorrowland.
Yeah, well, Tomorrowland, but don't fool yourself into thinking they've just started.
Yeah.
There has been political angling, and there's nothing wrong with that, because ultimately, to me, what movies are meant to be are a window into the world of what we are, what we hope we could be, where we've been, where we're going, what we dream, and in the fantasies that we can fulfill for the future of our species, if you will. And if you do any of that, to some degree, there's going to be a political message, whether it's one you agree with or disagree with. I really don't give a flying F about. I really don't care if a movie has a political message I like or that I don't like. I just like if it tells a great story. I remember, what was it, $1 Million Baby?
Yeah.
With Clint Eastwood. I remember this at the end of that movie, and I'm going to be a bit of a spoiler for this, but if you haven't seen $1 Million Baby by now, you're never going to see it. But if you don't want to know, plug your ears for about 30 seconds. At the end of the movie, Clint Eastwood helps the girl commit suicide, right? He helps the girl kill herself. And I remember there were these protests for Clint Eastwood afterwards, these big protests saying, Clint Eastwood hates crippled people. Clint Eastwood thinks people who are disabled should die.
Right.
And it's like, no, he just told a story where in this story, that character made one particular choice, and that's what happened in the story. And some people don't grasp that sometimes movies aren't political agendas. Sure, there might be politics involved, but they're just telling a story, and I think we got to be able to accept that.
I agree. And look, the thing is, I think that it's necessary to, because of the medium and what movies do, that it's necessary a lot of times to put in these types of messages and put in these, and again, if it's telling the story. My thing with Elysium was not that there was a political message there. It was, I don't want to be taken out of a movie and beaten over the head with it in the middle of the story going, this is just a message film, because the same director also did District 9, which was also very, very strong political theme.
Sure.
But the story was being told in a way that it all fit together in such a nice blend that I was aware of the message, but I was also very aware of the story and the characters, and I was on the adventure of the story. It's when something like Tomorrowland, where it's like, recycle! And you're like, and it just takes you out of it. I think it just needs to be a blend, and filmmakers have to be careful sometimes.
Yeah, and a lot of content is created in a response to political ideals. Like even Star Wars was created partially as a response to the Vietnam War and what was happening over there. So there's a lot of times that war particularly can inspire, and war kind of movies like Jarhead or Stop Loss that have very political messages to say. Sometimes you can watch it and embrace it, but when you go to a war movie, you're expecting to get some sort of political message. Seeing Tomorrowland, I just wasn't expected. I wasn't thinking I was going to get beaten over the head with the message. Star Trek 4, the end, when they're like saving the whales.
Right.
It's like, okay, we get it. We'll be nicer to whales. Cool.
Yeah, they didn't make a whole. It was just a part of the film. Yeah, I love that. Okay, let's take a few more.
All right, Ryan Field writes, will Star Wars 8 even come close to Episode 7 when its tickets go on sale?
You can't honestly answer that question until we see how good or how bad Star Wars Episode 7 is. If Star Wars Episode 7 crushes it and knocks it out of the park, I'm not talking about money-wise, I'm talking about quality. If people come out with tears of joy and all that kind of stuff, yeah, it can equal it. I mean, it won't do what Star Wars Episode 7 did in terms of breaking the record by 10 times, or it won't do that. But it could equal or exceed what it did on its own. But it all comes down to how good is that second movie, and by extension, how good Rogue One is as well.
That's the main. Well, I think that even if Rogue One, if Episode 7 is great, I mean, great.
Yeah.
And then Rogue One isn't good, I don't think it'll hurt Episode 8's.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right.
Because it's the sequel to the movie that was great.
Yeah.
And that's why people will be very excited to see, because if you get a sequel and everyone's back and you're like, oh, wait, Star Wars is back to what we all were hoping it would be, then you're not going to go 10 times like you said, but you're certainly going to equal those numbers, I think.
But it's not just about the quality of Episode 7. It's also if there's some sort of a cliffhanger feel at the end of Episode 7. If you only see Luke Skywalker like you think for the last 5 minutes of that movie, and the last thing you see is him lighting up a green lightsaber to fight Kylo Ren, it's like, oh my God, I need to buy tickets right now to see that movie. So we've seen the trailer.
If Episode 7 ends at that, I'm going to be physically angry.
Yeah.
I'm going to be so pissed off.
Just like that kind of cliffhanger. And it's also, and the other thing too, adding to it, is that it's only a year and a half away from the time you're done watching. Episode 8 comes out in May of 2017, so that's even more so to be excited about.
That's right, and like all we've seen is the trailer. We don't have a lot of story to go on. So if the story is great and it leaves us on a cliffhanger, maybe not what I just wrote, but maybe something like that, you might want to buy your tickets early.
All right, what's next?
That guy, Stephen Charles, writes, will we ever see action star Tom Cruise go back to non-blockbuster, non-action roles?
Yes. I mean, he's shown, he's got a lot of films in his resume, that straight drama, some risky stuff that he did. But I think right now, Tom Cruise very wisely understands he's getting to an age where he's got a certain window left that he can take advantage of these action, big blockbuster type of films. Because 10 years from now, he probably can't anymore, believably. Right now, he can, and he's killing it right now. So I think and he knows, look, I can go back to those heavy dramas and the stuff that I did before when I was a bit younger. I can go back to those when I'm 58, 60, and do those for the rest of my life. But I only got a certain window. I can do these Mission Impossibles, these Jack Reachers, these Edge of Tomorrows. I only got a certain window, so I need to do these now. And I think it's the right thing for him to do.
Yeah, you only got a certain window to be able to strap yourself to the side of a plane when it's taking off. Most of us don't have that window in our house at all.
Can you imagine Harrison Ford? Well, I guess he kind of does do that.
He does. He's doing it right now.
He does in real life, yeah. I think Tom Cruise, and with the same like desire that he pursues being in these action movies and like not cheating the audience and doing all your own stunts, he's going to take all that passion and channel it into maybe more of an Oscar contending movie. Because remember, he's been nominated for Best Actor before. He's never won Best Actor. That's going to change at some point. Tom Cruise just wants it too bad to not win Best Actor sometime in the future.
I think Tom Cruise will go back to those types of roles, something like Magnolia or whatever it is that he's great at it. But like you were saying, he's in a range. He's in where he is. He's in the zone, because if you you got to also remember, even if you didn't see Edge of Tomorrow in the theater, chances are that you've seen it by now because of the word of mouth. It's a quality movie. The Last Mission Impossible, great movie. I didn't love Jack Reacher. A lot of people did like Jack Reacher. He's doing these movies, and it doesn't have Marvel in the title. It doesn't have Star Wars. He's one of these guys at 50 years old or whatever he is to be able to do these movies. So he has to capitalize on it, and it's working. So keep doing it until you don't have to, but popping back into these smaller roles. He's a really talented actor. I'd like to see him do something like The Revenant or something along those lines.
It'll
eventually
come.
too. I
think he
that's
got burned by Lions for Lambs too, because that was a movie that came out maybe not even a decade ago, but it was like positioned as an Oscar contender and like, oh, Tom Cruise is great. And the movie did so poorly at the box office and critically that he's like, why would I continue these kind of movies and risk losing my star's luster as opposed to just kick ass in Mission Impossible and Jack Reacher to a lesser extent and Edge of Tomorrow as long as I possibly can.
Well, there's a good blend also, like something like Collateral, as where because Collateral's a movie, and he hasn't played. Has he played a villain since? I mean, you can kind of say Lex Grossman if you want to, but
no, I still want a Les Grossman movie so bad. But you know what nobody talks about? Because I thought the first one of these many action films has a really strong first two acts, kind of a weak third act, and everybody forgets. I thought Day and Night was actually better than a lot of people. The one he did with Night and Day, sorry, the one he did with.
I can't stand that movie.
I enjoyed Night and Day. I thought the action that was really, and the third act fell apart totally. I totally get, it, but I thought it was better than it gets credit for. All right, let's take 3 or 4 more now. Rapid fire.
DJ Mike Zero writes, "What is one movie that never got a sequel that you wish did?"
I say this all the time. The two are Megaforce. Which would be, it's way too late now for Megaforce. But the other one, absolutely to this day, I think now is the perfect time to do it because Hank Azaria is just serving fries right now. William H. Macy is doing a lot of directing, not a lot of Mystery Men. Mystery Men 2. Do it. All the players are still here. Paul Rubens is even in Blacklist these days. Get the whole crew back, please. Mystery Men was a movie that was so far ahead of its time, both in terms of comic book stuff and their style of comedy. please get this crew back and do another one. I will always beg for it.
Dread. Absolutely, Dread. I want to see where that's. I was really upset. That movie to me was executed so well. The 3D is some of the best 3D that was ever used, and I sometimes get bored with the way 3D is used. It was necessary in that movie. I thought Carl Urban was amazing as Dredd. And then the other one that I heard rumblings about that I actually would be curious about, even though maybe it's not necessary, is The Big Lebowski. I know they talked about doing a sequel to The Lebowski a couple times. I'd love to see Bridges return as the dude.
Now, I know you have always been very excited about a Warriors sequel.
Oh, yeah. Can't wait to see the Warriors sequel right after I see the first one. Thanks, Collider movie fans. I'm going to say it's a risk. And it's a risk. It's not going to tarnish the legacy of the first one if they make Beetlejuice 2. I would love to see what the concept of Beetlejuice 2 is. You can still have Michael Keaton playing a role in there. I want to see what that is. Also, I think a sequel to the comedy classic Old School could really work today. You still have all those dudes. They're still making movies that are kind of funny, but you put them all together again. I think Old School 2 could be hilarious.
Okay, just a couple more.
Hayden Stewart writes, what are your favorite holiday comedies?
Holiday comedies. Well, you got to go to the classic Home Alone. That's a great
Christmas
one.
Vacation.
Christmas Vacation is another great one.
Come on, guys.
Christmas Story?
Scrooged.
Scrooge is a great one.
Did you say
Scrooge
Christmas
all
Story?
down
Did
funny.
you say Christmas Story?
No, I said Home Alone.
Okay, Christmas Story. Yeah, that's one.
Oh, yeah. That is one of the all-time great. The tongue on the pole is one of the all-time
Shoot your eye
great
out,
scenes.
kid.
Oh, my God. That's so good. All right, what's next?
Iran Quijano writes, when talking about the budget of a film, does that cover the cost of paying every single person who worked in it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have two items of a budget. You have the above-the-line costs and the below-the-line costs. You're talking about people on camera and stuff like that. And underneath the line, you're talking about a lot of the behind-the-scenes people. What you're not talking about is P&A. You're not talking about your marketing. You're not talking about trailers. You're not talking about advertising. But the actual production of the movie, that covers all the costs.
Dorsforden writes, do you think we'll get a Lord of the Rings re-release soon to capitalize on the new Hobbit audience?
No.
You might see it in theaters is somewhere down the road.
Yeah,
but
like
not
an
a
ArcLight
connection
special or
with-
something.
No,
Oh, yeah. They're not like, hey, remember Battle of the Five Armies? No? Okay, well, here's 3 other movies that we think you'll like better.
Yeah, I mean, you put those original 3 Lord of the Rings films back in theaters for like 2 Saturdays or something like that. I'm going to watch them. I'd love to see that on the big screen.
Was
again.
there talk of ever expanding that universe again too? Like I thought there was.
Yeah, well, there's
right?
talk about the Silmarillion, and there was a talk about the other novels, and some more work has been done after the passing of J.R.R. Tolkien. But but it's never really moved very far. There are rights issues and things like that, and I think it's time to put it to bed. All right, 2 more, and then we'll call it a day.
Jeffrey Wong writes, do you think the last Jobs movie has affected the performance of this current Jobs movie?
It might. I think, look, and that's one of the risks you always run, because you got 2 things. One, didn't we just already have a Jobs movie? And 2, I saw a Jobs movie already, and it was horrendously bad. Now, is that the reason Jobs didn't make $100 million opening weekend? No, but I do think it had an effect.
I don't actually.
Really?
No, not for that. And I understand the reasoning behind that. And I think a lot of the cases it does, but that movie didn't do well at all. Nobody. I mean, some people thought that it came out, and maybe because it was so bad, you know, it had a stink left over to it. But I also think because the stink of everything that happened with Sony absolutely
Do
hurt
you
it
think
as
the
well.
average film fans care much about the...
No, but there was a lot of stories about just eventually things come out about as far as the Leonardo DiCaprio was attached, and then this person, it wasn't Christian
Bale
Bale
was
supposed to be. There were
attached.
stories that were floating around for a while, and then Fassbender as Jobs didn't look like him. I thought he was great, and I think he should be nominated for the performance. But one of the main things too, again, going back to my wife who's a casual film fan, was like, did he work? It doesn't look anything like him. Like that type of stuff matters to film fans as far as like looking like it. Is it going to work? Seth Rogen being cast in that role, even though again, phenomenal job. I think there were a lot of
It
things.
struck some people as weird.
It
at
did,
first,
and
yeah.
it shouldn't have. The movie, it was. Talking about Edge of Tomorrow being a crime that a lot of people didn't see it in theaters. Steve Jobs, and maybe the time when it came out as well too. That was a movie. It's one of my favorites. Top 10 of the year.
I think First Blush is a huge underrated thing when it comes to how you feel about a movie. Like when you hear, they're making a new Star Wars, sweet. There's a new Bond movie coming out, sweet. There's a new Peanuts movie coming out. Oh, I'm interested in that. There's a new Jobs movie coming out. Wasn't there already a Jobs movie? I think that had an effect on it. I don't think it had a huge effect on it. It wasn't going to be a massive hit anyway, but I think the fact that there was another Jobs movie that came out not that long ago definitely had an effect on the box office.
All right, last question of the day goes to...
Oh gosh, Gabriel Anton writes, Oscar chances for Beast of No Nation, please, thanks.
It qualifies because, remember, the rules for an Academy, it doesn't matter that it's playing on Netflix. The rules for the Academy are pretty straightforward. You got to just at least play for a certain amount of time in a movie theater in Los Angeles and in New York. And that's it. You do those, you totally qualify. I finally had a chance about, I wasn't feeling well, so I was home alone because Anne was out, doing all of her Hasbro stuff. And I had a chance to watch it. It's terrific. Best Picture? I don't think so, but it's great. If you haven't had a chance to watch it yet, watch it. I think Idris Elba will get some talk for his role in it as well. So Oscar chances, totally it has chances for it.
I haven't seen it, but I will say you're definitely getting Oscar chances just from the way that I hear people buzzing about it and talking about it and things they're saying about it. The words powerful, moving, like all these things that happen when you hear about at this time and when it was marketed, when it was put out there, they're absolutely going for the campaign. And I think whether it's performances or the film itself, you're going to hear about it come Oscar time.
I agree it should be considered. I think there's going to be a Netflix bubble, though, when it comes to the Academy. They're not exactly up with the times, usually.
But it came out limited, though, first.
I realize that, but a lot of people weren't aware of it being in limited. A lot of people associate Beast of No Nation with Netflix, and I think that is going to hurt it with a lot of the Academy voters. I hope it gets consideration. I haven't seen it yet, but I think it should. I think that the Netflix thing hurts it.
Yeah, I like I said, though, the Netflix thing for me doesn't hurt it, personally.
For Waldorf and Statler, who are voting on the Academy.
But I don't. But I think simply on its merit, it's a great film. But I wouldn't personally put it in my top 5 of the year, top 6, top 7. So if it doesn't get nominated, for me, it won't be because of Netflix, because I didn't think it deserved to be up there. But who knows? It's certainly going to get a lot of buzz. And because it is a Netflix thing and the kind of the first penguin diving into the water, it might get some extra attention because it's the first one doing it.
I would hope so. If the movie's worth it, I hope so.
All right, folks, well, that'll do it for us for this installment of Collider Movie Talk. And remember, the most important thing about all the topics we talk about here on this show is that it doesn't matter what these idiots at this table have to say.
Hey.
Our opinions are just our opinions. What's important is what do you think? And hopefully, as we're expressing and formulating our opinions, it helps you formulate and understand and sharpen your own opinions, whether you agree with us or disagree with us. So keep the conversation going, be respectful of each other, and let's keep talking about the movies. Don't forget, lots of great films right now are playing at our friends over at AMC Theaters. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all of your theater showtime and, of course, your movie ticket information. And I want to thank the guys sitting at the table with me. First of all, sitting on my left, Mr. Mark Ellis. Mark, where can people find you online?
This is Spectre. This is Octopussy. On Twitter at 5150 Ellis. And this weekend I'll be in Austin, Texas at Cap City Comedy Club tomorrow night, Wednesday through Saturday. See you guys there.
Over here on my right, Mr. Christian Harloff. Christian, where can people find you?
Well, Twitter?
I thought you said Tinder.
I did. I said Titter, which
Find
is
him on
probably the same.
Tinder.
Titter is something totally different. Twitter and Instagram at Christian Harloff. But a couple of things about Jedi Council. This week only we're going to have Jedi Council tomorrow. That will be Wednesday. So make sure that you are looking for that. We are going to be myself, John, and a special guest as well too. We'll tell you that once I figure out who the special guest is. And if you didn't watch our interview with Freddie Prinze Jr. last week on last week's Jedi Council, we're very proud of it. You should check it out. We talked all things Rebels and our Rebels recap.
And it wasn't even really an interview. He participated in the whole show.
It was
as part of
great.
the whole Jedi Council. It
Yeah.
was just an awesome, fun time.
Yeah.
And, of course, also sitting down there at the end, our lovely host name is Ashley Mova. Ashley, where can people find you on Tinder?
You guys can find me on Instagram and on Twitter at Ashley Mova. Happy Tuesday, guys.
And you guys can follow me on Facebook and on Twitter, simply at John Campia. And you might notice my face looks a little more stupid than it normally does because of all of the fuzz growing. As I do in other years, I'm participating in No Shave November, also known as Movember, to help raise awareness and encourage you to donate to the cancer research and help fight this plague that is just an enemy and has affected so many of the people you know and that I know and our families. Be aware, go and donate to cancer research today. That'll do it for us, guys. Thanks so much for joining us for this installment of Collider Movie Talk, and until next time, bye-bye.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.